nonsense talking, top rope walking, ultimate Xing, serious flexing, never be vague with your boy Craig, and opinion mixing from Pete to Nixon, keep doing things in an impactful way, bloody nonsense as the Brits say, talking bloody nonsense.
Yes, it's me, it's the MIC, Craig, aka Mr. Impact. Join us, everybody. Excellent, Peter Nixon. This is Talking Bloody Nonsense here on the TNA IW channel. It's a new week, it's a new Impact, but first things first, Nixon, how's it going?
Yeah, all good my end. Bit of a somber mood today in the wrestling world, but I don't need to tell you why that is. You know, if you've been on Twitter, if you've watched any wrestling over the course of the last couple of days, you'll have known. Unfortunately, we lost Scott Hall, and we will get to that in one of our subheadings. Yeah, I'll tell you all about my dealings with Scott later on. Yeah, it's a very sad day. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess we're going to start off with the news regarding Fallah. He's no longer with Impact Wrestling. And also we mentioned it on last week's show, but Eddie Edwards has re-signed with Impact Wrestling. We'll go into a bit more details on that, on the impact of that, if you like, as well as Fallah. But yeah, Fallah is officially no longer with Impact Wrestling. He wasn't at the last set of tapings, and his last match on Impact apparently was in November in a loss to Chris Bay on BTI. If people say it's not a big loss, and it isn't in the grand scheme of things, Fallah was an Impact player, if you like. So, get your thoughts on Fallah and being no longer with Impact Wrestling, as well as Eddie was returning, and the impact on both. Over to you.
Well, I think it could be a Larry D situation. He might not be under contract anymore. That might have expired, but you might still see him pop up every now and then. He was a great utility player. He came in sort of the GFW era, didn't he? He was teaming with a Croatian dude. What was that guy's name?
I was just thinking about this tag team the other day. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
Apologies,
yeah, it will come to me. And then he transitioned into this sort of comedic panda, and he lost a load of weight, and they started using him in a different style, as more of a comedy, sort of a comic relief as such. Which, nothing wrong with that. Every wrestling company needs someone like that. Yeah, I think he excelled in that role, and he was having really good matches. With the likes of Chris Bay. He was on pay-per-views. He carved out his little niche. With the Swingers Paris. With that wad of cash. That's how I'll remember Fallah in Impact Wrestling. So, yes. Shame to know that his contract is expired, but I highly doubt we've seen the last of him.
And it was Mario Bokara.
There you go. Well done, Craig.
Thank you, Google.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with everything you said there. Fallah, when he first came in, see, during that time, obviously it was major transition period, because obviously Anthem had just taken over. It was GFW, then it went back to Impact, so it was kind of confusing. But during that time with the tag team division, obviously it was a very confusing time, because they didn't have regular tag teams on Impact. Obviously LAX was the mainstay, obviously the new LAX, Italian Ortiz, and you had the teams of like Marufuji and Ishimori and I think it was Phantasma and Drago was along those lines, maybe Aerostar. So it wasn't great in terms of tag team, but Fallah Bahh, he had something to him. And obviously the tapings after Bound for Glory in Windsor, when Anthem really took over, was Fallah Bahh got over just by doing no, no, no. Like,
yeah,
obviously, those three words obviously got someone else over, but the way Fallah Bahh did it was different. So,
yeah.
and the whole bar thing. So it was just he managed to get himself over from basically nothing, which led to him getting a world title match, which led to him getting a tag team title match. Even that match against Austin Aries, he put on a banging match, and a lot of people thought he couldn't. No one believed Fallah Bahh was going to give Austin Aries a run for his money, but he did. So that was just, he was very much underrated in Impact, because obviously you had like, the top guys, if you like. Fallah Bahh was just there to, in some cases, help that top guy get over, but also it didn't take any shine off him as an Impact player. So it's unfortunate that he's gone, but yeah, I don't think this will be the last we see of him, which I hope it isn't, because I'm a big fan of Fallah Bahh. He did such a great job, and I said Bound for Glory, the last Bound for Glory, you know, the no way thing, that was,
Yes.
that was great. Like, he was very entertaining, and Impact did a great job of having some serious phenomenal wrestling like Alexander and TJP, or I don't know, insert match here. But they also did a great job with Fallah of having an entertainment side of stuff with Swingers Palace. I mean, that What of Cash was like the mid card title.
Mm-hmm.
It was everyone had it at some point, and the stuff with Hernandez, I enjoyed that. I can't think of a time where I didn't enjoy Fallah Bahh stuff, and even the stuff with KM was great.
Oh yeah, Kevin Matthews. Yeah.
So he's been there for quite some time, and made a big impact on a lot of Impact fans, because he got over. That's pretty much 101 of what you need to do. Get over. And he did that very, very well. So it's unfortunate that he's gone, but I can't see this being the last we see of him. I mean, it's clear Impact is setting up for something big with all these people there not re-signing. At least I hope that's where it's going, that we are going to get something big. But it's unfortunate, but it won't be the last we see of it, because
It's business, no one sticks around forever. And Fallah Bahh was there for, what, 5-6 years?
I think it was around 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, these things happen. You've got to refresh the roster. And, there's no saying that Fallah Bahh doesn't go away, get a fresh painted coat, and come back and, light the world on fire.
Right, yeah. He's proven that he can be capable of putting some great matches. So I can't say it'll be the last, but Fallah Bahh was great. Now, just move on to Eddie Edwards' side of stuff. Obviously, we mentioned it briefly on last week's episode, but we didn't go into too much depth on it. We also take on Eddie Edwards resigning, because, like I said on last week's episode, he may be Honor No More, but he's still very much Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Eddie Edwards is still the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling. And Eddie re-signing with the company is important on multiple levels, because Impact Wrestling has, over the past 20 years, has had this sort of reputation of not being able to hold on to big time players. They've come in, done their thing, gone elsewhere. Whereas Eddie's been with the company for 10 years, 12 years.
I believe it was 2014 he came in, so
2014, 8 years. And he hasn't, he's been and done other things. He was the GHC heavyweight champion in Pro Wrestling Noah, but he's been an Impact guy for that long, and he's one of the top guys. So, when you see Jordan Grace resigning, Josh Alexander resigning, Eddie Edwards resigning, it's a great sign, pardon the pun, that Impact can now hold on to top guys and make it worth their while. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make it financially viable for people to stick around in that company. Famously, Josh Alexander quit his day job because he's now making enough to support his family through Impact Wrestling.
Right.
And I'm sure, through other independent stuff that he's able to do. But a massive thumbs up from me for Eddie Edwards resigning.
Couldn't agree more. Eddie, I mean, when the Wolves first came in, I wasn't familiar with their Ring of Honor stuff, but they did a great job in, as a tag team. You could see already that they were one of the best. The Wolves are one of the greatest tag teams, not just in Impact history, but in wrestling. They're 5-time TNA World Tag Team Champions, Impact World Tag Team Champions, and you can't. I think James Storm maybe had more runs solo, not solo, but different partners. So, but you look at Impact and the Impact, not Impact, the faithful signees to Impact. Eddie Edwards is the number one on that list. If you ask people, who's truly faithful to Impact, who's the real heart and soul of Impact, they'll say Eddie Edwards. Then they'll go and say Sami Callihan, Moose, and now you can add Josh Alexander to that list. But without Eddie Edwards, there probably wouldn't be Sami Callihan Impact, not to this level, because obviously the baseball bat incident set them both to the moon.
Mm.
And now Moose is there, and he had a great feud with Eddie. Josh Alexander now coming back on board. Eddie Edwards, you can tell he's a real locker room leader, and it's a great thing that Impact managed to keep him up, because Eddie could go anywhere he wanted to. He has that much. He has that much respect in wrestling. Obviously, the Wolves tried to be in NXT. I think they had one dark match, maybe one match against, I want to say Breezango, but it was probably the Ascension. I don't know, but it didn't work out. I think they were called the American Pitbulls in NXT when they were there. Right. So, and then a few months later, popped up an Impact as part of the first signing of the mystery investor. Obviously went out to be MVP. This is great stuff. And Eddie's staying around Impact. I'm glad, because, like I said, he may have on and no more on his gear, but it's Impact. He is very much Mr. Impact.
Well, let's just take a look at what Eddie has done purely in his Impact career. Won the tag titles fairly quickly with Davey Richards, and they did that run in the summer. I think it was 2014, might have been 2015, with the Hardys and Team 3D, where they were wrestling each other in different combinations in the Manhattan Ballroom. They would do different sets of tag team matches, but it would be like tables matches or ladder matches, and then finally they did all three of them in the Full Metal Mayhem match. Just some crazy stuff. I'd like to see that collection of matches chronicled on a DVD or like a YouTube playlist or something. That'd be really cool to relive those matches. And then winning the world title from Lashley out of the blue, really.
Completely, yeah.
Yeah, he actually had it. I think it was the night after Bound for Glory. He just defeated EC3, I want to say, and he had his choice of competitors, and he chose Eddie Edwards. He's like, oh yeah, that'll be a walk in the park. And then Eddie, out of nowhere, beats Lashley and has a nice little title run. A multiple-time champion now. The stuff he's done in Impact. In Ring of Honor, he was the Ring of Honor World Champion. He was Triple Crown Champion in Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. Not many people can say that. And when you look at the people that Eddie hasn't had a program with, Eddie, he had that run with Michael Elgin a couple of years ago, where their matches stole the show every single time, every single show. And, Eddie can still have a program with Josh Alexander. He can still, he's done Moose. We can move on from that. But as part of Honor No More, he can go with Chris Sabin. He wrestled Rich Swan. There's so many different avenues that Eddie can still explore. Now he's a villain against all the current baby faces. So, yeah, very excited and very exciting time for Eddie Edwards.
Completely agreed. Eddie, one of my, I won't call it a regret as such because I didn't know it happened, but one of the matches I wish I got to see. Eddie, when he was the TNA World Champion, he defended that world title on a Kamikaze show in Birmingham, which I wish I'd known about. I would love to have gone to that. It was only like 40 minutes from me. Wish I could have known at that time. But Eddie, I'll always be a fan of Eddie Edwards, no matter what, because he is the heart and soul of Impact. What can you say? So yeah, I guess now we'll go to our preview. We'll start with the review of Impact this week. Get my little cheat sheet up. We had Josh Alexander kicking off the show before Eddie and Honor No More came out. They did the Eddie accused Josh of having everything handed to him. Josh did the whole thing of when a babyface turns heel, saying that didn't expect this from you, thought you were better, blah blah blah. Josh and Taven have a great exchange, and then Josh then says, "I'll take on all of you." Before Brawl kicked off, rest of Team Impact came out. Not Chris Sabin, funny enough, but and then it was going to be it was Willie Mack and Willie Mack and Chris and Kenny King having their match, which Kenny King Willie Mack went on to defeat Kenny King. Ha! Excuse me, I'm just very, very tired. Just got back from my nephew's birthday party. It was 30 under 6-year-olds. So, yeah, it was quite tiring.
That's exhausting.
Yes. So, anywho. Then it's a Willie Mack defeats Kenny King. And in the backstage, Scott D'Amore gives Moose 1 week to sign the contract for the World Title match at Rebellion, otherwise be stripped of the championship. We then had a triple threat to decide the first contender for to face Trey Miguel and a triple threat at Rebellion. Ace Austin defeating Crazy Steve and John Skyler. And Trey Miguel doing a great job on commentary. We head backstage again for a confrontation between Bhupinder Gurjar and Raj Singh before Larry D pops up and lays out Raj Singh, which was leading to a match this week against Bhupinder and Larry D. We then had an 8 knockouts tag team match with Mickie James, Chelsea Green, and The Inspiration defeating Knockouts World Champion Tasha Steelz, and then Savannah Evans and the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, The Influence. We also had a great promo from Jonah, bragging about his win over PCO and breaking his neck. Bullet Club came out to explain what happened at both with Jay White and the Good Brothers losing the tag team titles. Before actually came out, those two had just I mean, that promo I think was great. Obviously, of course, Chris Bay mentioned that actually was on his own, but in Impact, he's never on his own. Leading to reuniting of the Motor City Machine Guns. Also, on week's Impact, we do have Bullet Club, Jay White, and Chris Bay versus Motor City Machine Guns. And in the main event, Eddie Edwards defeated Rich Swan. So, what's your take on Impact this week? What's up to you as the segment or match of the night, and just how bad it is? I really like this show.
Well, I said to you off air, compared to the recent run of Impact weekly television shows, it felt uneventful. But you've just reeled it back to me, and it was a good show, but I didn't feel like it had the same vibe as some of the recent shows, if that makes sense. You can still put that show up against Dynamite, Rampage, Raw, SmackDown, whatever you want, and it still, leaps and bounds over all of them as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, as far as the recent shows, a little bit lackluster. I think there was no chance Ace Austin didn't win that 3-way, so that was fairly predictable. Good opener with Mac and Kenny King. I liked that whole promo, and there's some good promos on this show. I think that was the best part of this, episode. The promos. The Jonah promo, I get why people liked it, but I think he may have sort of dismissed PCO a little bit. Saying he proved that PCO is human, where, if anything, PCO proved the opposite. That he kept coming back from all this punishment. They call him the French Canadian Frankenstein for a reason, and I guess it can go somewhere because PCO wasn't on this episode. I think Tom Hannafin said he was injured. Don't know if that's true or not. He didn't seem injured when he was walking backstage. Do you have any inside information on that?
No, but I saw on Twitter that he's been booked for a match next week, so I'm guessing if he is injured, it's not that serious.
Yeah. What I would do if I was Impact management, and there's still a chance they can do it, is the fact that PCO took such a beating, I'd keep him off TV for a few weeks and do some sort of resurrection.
Yeah.
You even go into the undead realm with PCO.
Yeah.
There's so many different things you can do with that character. Bring in Destro, the man that brought PCO back from the dead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I hope they do another one. Because if that was their first match, PCO and Jonah, what have they left for the next few matches?
Right.
I'm very excited to see where that goes. And the Bullet Club Motor City Machine Guns promo, really cool. Mark out moment seeing the Guns reunite, and yeah, very excited for that match. Are they calling themselves Beyblade?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's been from the fans for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Beyblades.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I was when I was messaging my friend Milky, I was calling him Jay and Bay, but yeah, Beyblade is so much better. Yeah, looking forward to that Beyblade and Motor City Machine Guns match. That'd be really cool. Good main event, Eddie and Swan. How could it not be? Two of the best guys on the roster. But yeah, I'm more excited for this week's show than as much as I enjoyed the past week's show. But I guess the episode did a good job of building that excitement for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much else to say about it really. What was your thoughts on the show?
Again, I did really enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of promos. And with this one, I do understand why. 'Cause I know a lot of people used to complain about, Impact was all talk. They didn't have much in-ring action, but they're coming off a big pay-per-view with so many title changes. They kind of had to do promos here to kind of catch people up, especially with Josh Alexander and the Bullet Club thing, because that needs to be set up. I mean, again, even with the Larry D stuff, that needed a setup as well, so it had to be a promo there. So I was fine with it, even with the Deonna Purrazzo champ challenge thing. Again, needed to be a promo, so I wasn't. I really like promos because you can have a match, you can have storytelling in a match, but when a wrestler delivers a promo, a good promo, it definitely adds to excitement levels, and it did with Josh Alexander. It did with Bullet Club and Machine Guns. Like I had to go to that Bullet Club promo because it was so good. Even when they kicked out God, I was a bit concerned, and now God are officially out of Bullet Club because they even got kicked out of it on New Japan. So I'm interested to see what happens there now. But with the Good Brothers, I was thinking, okay, I'm not huge on the Good Brothers at the minute, but in Bullet Club, they belong. They really do belong in Bullet Club, and now they're back, and Jay White is phenomenal. He is so good at what he does, and I agree. I can't say he's the best wrestler in the world because there are so many, but he's definitely in the conversation. There are so many incredible wrestlers, and I would say there's at least 3 of them on Impact at the minute. That we're in conversation at least. So it's and the Machine Guns coming out. I never really got to see the Machine Guns in their prime on TNA because I started watching in 2012, but also I've gone back and watched this stuff. I saw the reunion at Summerversary against the Rascals, which was just amazing. I've always been there. We go. I've always been a Chris Sabin guy, more so than Alex Shelley, but I get the love for Alex Shelley because the guy is, again, incredible. So, and then we'll obviously stay backstage with the Larry D, Rupinder Gurja and Raj Singh stuff. Definitely surprised me that Larry D popped up, considering all people who have been let go. I'm confused as to why Larry D was the one brought back. Nothing against Larry D, but it is a bit confusing as to why it was Larry D who was chosen for that angle. But no, I mean, he has got a match this week on Impact against Rupinder, so let's just see where it goes. And he's back as Larry D, not Lawrence D, so what was that?
Is he local? Does he live in
Kentucky?
Yeah,
he lives in Kentucky, yeah.
That would make sense. They brought him back to put Rupinder over. Give him a little payday.
Yeah, I can see that, but I can't remember the last time Larry D actually won an Impact, so I'm not sure how much good it does for Rupinder on that side. But
still a name that's been on television for the past few years.
Yeah, and he is a veteran, I suppose. So
yeah, best right hand of the business.
I mean, cool. See what he can do there. The X Division triple threat. I mean, it was good. It was really good. Although it's kind of tainted in the fact that you didn't really believe anyone apart from Ace Austin was going to win that, but it was still well worth watching. And I was there for it. It was great. So I thought it was a solid show this week on Impact. And this week, we have Rhino versus Steve Macklin, Champ Challenge triple threat. Deonna Purrazzo defending both Ring of Honor and AAA Reina de Reinas World Championships against Giselle Shaw and Lady Frost. Larry D versus Flaherty versus Bipinda Gurja, Josh Alexander versus Matt Taven, although my autocorrect has changed it to Raven. And Beyblade, Chris Bay and Jay White, Bullet Club versus Motor City Machine Guns to kick off the show. I mean, that's
a pay-per-view quality card on weekly television.
Completely. So good. And I'm really looking forward to Bullet Club versus Machine Guns. The Champ Challenge should be interesting as well. I can't see title changing hands.
No.
But
they're still building that. Sorry, go on, Craig.
I was just saying that it helps Deonna that she's going. It really cements this Champ Challenge actually taking two competitors on, and for both titles, it really cements this whole thing, which is what has been needed because it's been going fine, but now she's really testing herself against two really decent wrestlers for both titles. So I'm all for that.
Exactly. The what's it called? The Champ Challenge is still in that building stage, you know. And this is the perfect match to sort of cement it as a good run, as a hot streak. And then, you know, at the pay-per-view, when someone comes in like Ember Moon or Taya or whoever they bring in to finally beat the Champ Challenge, it's not going to be Britt Baker. Sorry, Max. You know, that's going to be a big moment because they're building it and they're doing a great job of it. They've done a really good job of it so far. And what else is on the show? Rhino and Macklin. Yeah. That should be fun. I think I could have picked better opponents for Macklin, but you know that's going to give Macklin a big high profile win, assuming he wins.
Wasn't it Rhino who Macklin attacked at No Surrender?
Yeah, so they have that story going in. So yeah, that should be a fun little match. Not expected match of the year, but you know, Macklin needs these high profile wins, having just come off a few losses. You know, I firmly believe they're building Macklin to be a top contender to the world title. So, sorry. What was the final match? It was
Josh
and Taven. God, that's going to be outstanding. Two fantastic wrestlers. And I don't know if they've wrestled each other before, but I haven't seen those two square off before. It's a match that I never knew I needed. Really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a banging show.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously the card isn't complete yet either. So obviously they're the matches that Impact to see as the big ones to bring people in. And if I wasn't already watching Impact, I'd tune in for this show, especially Bullet Club versus Machine Guns. That's the one you drive people in with, because if you don't watch Impact, you know Bullet Club, you know the Machine Guns. So
it's up to Impact, the social media team, the management, to make these match graphics and push them on social media so people know that these matches are happening, so they tune into Access TV or they jump on YouTube and watch this show.
Yeah, what a card. And just to go back to the Champ Challenge there, obviously Deonna is having a Champ Challenge at the Multiverse of Matches, and if this is building up the what I'm looking for, the prestige of the Champ Challenge, the Multiverse of Matches could be the perfect payoff to bring in a really big challenger, because it's many a week, everyone is there. To be honest, this is where I thought Deonna might lose a Ring of Honor Women's Championship, but it is technically still under an Impact banner. So, but I thought this may be where it happens. But then again, they did mention on Dynamite a couple weeks ago, so I don't know. it's either going to be Deanna losing I think Deanna will lose the title at the multiverse of matches, whether it be the Ring of Honor or the Reign of Reigns against Ty Valkyrie. I don't know, but I think this is where the champ challenge is no longer going to be called the champ challenge. So, but I'm looking forward to this show. Looking forward to the multiverse of matches. I believe Sabin and Jay White are facing each other twice. Once in New Japan. So technically three times. There's a tag team match coming up this week on Impact. They have a match in New Japan, and they also have a match at the multiverse of matches. So I'm definitely intrigued to see what goes on here. But it's just going to be a banging show. And Impact, the weekly shows, and they're smashing it. I recently watched the Chris Van Vliet interview with D'Lo Brown, and D'Lo said that give Impact 3 weeks, watch 3 weeks of TV, and they'll guarantee you'll be back to the 4th week. And these would have been the perfect 3 weeks to watch.
Oh yes.
So it's just a good time to be an Impact fan. But now, move on to some unfortunate news. As mentioned earlier in the show, you're probably already aware of it. Some sad news regarding the WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall, TNA original Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. I mean, unfortunately, suffered some severe heart attacks and passed away nearly as this morning as her in the UK. I mean, and it's clear how much of an impact he had on the wrestling world. We already had an inkling of how big of a deal he was in wrestling. You know, along with Shawn Michaels, made the ladder match famous. Started being the part of the NWO. It's now led to the Bullet Club, which has now led to all these factions, which led to so much in wrestling. Scott Hall was the second ever person to show up in TNA wrestling. And I think at some point, every wrestling fan, whether they realize it or not, has done the Scott Hall Razor Ramon strut. I think at some point everyone's done it. I catch myself doing it all the time without realizing I'm doing it. Just walking down the stairs, it just comes naturally. But I mean, yeah, it's sad news, but it's clear how much of an impact he made, and he even played a pretty big part in British wrestling as a commissioner in the WAW. He played a big part there. So, but yeah, obviously you had the pleasure of actually meeting him. I want to get your thoughts on it. I know obviously it's everything has been said that can be said about him, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, just over to you.
Well, I was first made aware of Razor Ramon. It was around about that period when I was getting into wrestling, 95, 96. And, he was on one of the first shows I ever watched, Royal Rumble 96 against Goldust. But I was into everything. I had the action figures, I had the video games, and he was on those video games like WrestleMania, the arcade game, and WWF Royal Rumble for the Mega Drive, and WWF Raw for the Mega Drive as well. He was on those games. I would always pick Razor Ramon because he was just the coolest character. You could have picked Yokozuna or Shawn Michaels or Undertaker, but Razor Ramon, he was the coolest one. He oozed machismo.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And then when he went over to WCW, formed the NWO, had iconic moments, changed the wrestling business. beyond influential. You know, there's not a wrestler active at the moment who hasn't been influenced by Scott Hall in some way. Yeah, just always a fan, you know. And I mean, the only other name that really comes to mind is Roddy Piper, but Scott Hall is the most important figure in wrestling that was never a world champion.
Right.
And you can't tell me otherwise. There's no one else, him or Piper. But you know, when I got into wrestling, you know, started training to become a wrestler. It wasn't long before WAW started bringing Scott Hall over, and just a great guy to be around. You know, I was establishing the Peter Nixon character, and you know, starting to have good matches I was proud of, and I was started to be featured more on the WAW shows. But in that sort of transition period, before I had my own merch stand, I made sure to work Scott Hall's merch stand, and it meant that, you know, people would come up and get pictures taken with him and stuff, and you know, have a chat with him. But you know, in between customers, I would be picking Scott's brain and asking him about, you know, his experiences in wrestling, asking about, you know, you can't help but absorb wisdom when you're around Scott Hall. You know, he just oozes knowledge, and you just can't help but be a sponge and just absorb all of that, you know, that wealth of knowledge. So I was talking to him one time, and it was I had a video back in the day. It was Hits from the Heartbreak Kid, I think was the name of the video. It was a Shawn Michaels video, obviously, but one of the matches on there was Shawn and Diesel against Razor and the 1-2-3 Kid. To this day, one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. It was wild, and that home video is on the WWE Network. If you want to go and find that match, I highly recommend it. I started talking to Scott about that match, and I said, yeah, it was. I really wanted to pick your brain about, you know, the match. I think it was on a random episode of Raw. It was you and the Kid against Shawn and Diesel. He said, oh yeah, on the Action Zone. I was like, yes, the Action Zone, that's right. And he started telling me about, you know, this match that I didn't even think he would remember. But he started, you know, telling me about what went into that match, what the Action Zone was, you know, what the purpose of that show was. Because I think it came on mid-afternoon, maybe Super Bowl day. And it was just like a couple of matches, but they wanted, you know, just action. And that was the first match ever on the Action Zone. And it really set the pace for, I think they only ever did like 3 episodes of it. And it was very sporadic. But yeah, that match really influenced me. And as I say, it was just a wild tag team match that when you look back on it, it must have influenced, you know, the modern style of tag team wrestling. When you look at the most prolific tag teams on the scene at the moment, the Young Bucks, Motor City Machine Guns, you know, Jurassic Express, Red Dragon, you know, FTR, they've all been influenced by Razor Ramon and probably by Shawn Michaels, etc., and this match specifically. So as my career started to take off a bit, I was featured more and more. Scott got to see more of my work. We became, you know, it's weird to say that I was on first name basis with someone that I looked up to so much.
Yeah.
But Scott was like that with everyone. You know, he made the effort with everyone. And there's countless stories on social media of how he helped people and how you know, and he would do acts of kindness, but all he wanted in return was, you know, pass it on. You know, he didn't want anything in return. He said, yeah, pass on the act of kindness, do something for someone else. So yeah, Scott became an advocate of mine and he would watch my match. He would watch most of the matches on the show. He'd go out of his way to watch everything, but he would always give me good advice. He would always compliment my stuff, and he'd big me up to the nights, and that was really cool. I remember we did a 6-person match one time. It was just I think it was the match that went on the afternoon show before I wrestled Rey Mysterio and Kip in the 3-way. It was just a 6-man match to see who would, the winner would go on to wrestle Rey Mysterio.
Right.
So we got backstage. It was just a cruiserweight 6-man, 1 fall to a finish, shotgun finishes, dives. Very formulaic, but it's what people expected from us, and that's what the fans enjoyed, and we gave it to them. I really enjoyed the match, and Scott was really complimentary of it. We got further backstage, and one of the WAW veterans, I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to put any heat on anyone, but this veteran said to us, "Oh mate, that was a shits. I really didn't enjoy the match. I think you got it all wrong." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I understand." But in my head, I was like, "Bollocks!" I just got complimented by Scott Hall. I really don't need to listen to your shitty opinion.
Yeah.
And then we did a rumble one time, and it was a 40-man rumble, and I was entrant number 3, and I lasted to the end. And I was channeling Dolph Ziggler. I was everywhere in that ring, because it was one of those rumbles where not many people had too much experience, so they'd jump in, no one would be feeding for anyone, and they'd just it was a forearm exchange, and people would jump in and just go straight to the corner and start trying to tussle people over the top rope. There was no spots. There's nothing laid out. It wasn't great. So I thought, how am I going to stand out in this? And I was like Ziggler. I was always in peril. I was always holding onto the ropes, feet barely touching. I found myself in a position where I was on the apron, and someone knocked me off, and I landed on the timekeeper's table. And it was on wheels, and it sort of slid into the barricade. I'm making this about me, and I do apologise. But I made myself back into the ring, and like Kofi Kingston style. But I got backstage, and Scott was, really complimentary. He said, in that match, I couldn't take my eyes off you. You were everywhere. You were doing the Ziggler, in peril all the time. You made that match entertaining. And that really meant a lot to me, to have such high praise from one of your heroes. He was always complimentary of my commentary as well. I was injured a couple of times when Scott was there, and he always felt sorry for me, because I was a bit of a calamity. I broke my arm, which required surgery, and that's a funny story. So I broke my arm, I had surgery, and the next day I was back at my parents' house, who live near Norwich, which is where WAW are based. And a friend of mine, again, I'm not going to say who, was going to come and visit me at my parents' house whilst I was recovering. And this person said, "Can I bring Scott Hall?" I was like, well, of course, And I said to my mum, "Is it all right if Scott Hall comes over? Is it all right if Razor Ramon comes to our house? You've never seen her running around so quickly, cleaning up the lounge, wiping surfaces." I mean, my parents have a very clean house, but it was immaculate that day.
Yeah.
So that was very funny. Just a wonderful guy to be around, so kind-hearted. I know he gets a bad rap sometimes for the problems he had, but like Jake Roberts, he was resurrected.
Yeah.
He cleaned himself up, got on the DDP yoga. You know, DDP has saved so many people, and you know, he had that. You know, had what was that? Alan Partridge bouncing back. You know, you could have done a book about that. You know, to see him on WWE television, you know, the following years after going into the Hall of Fame, you know, that the match between Sting and Triple H at WrestleMania 31, where DX ran out to help Triple H, then the NWO strutted down. The coolest thing ever, right? You know, and then I think Scott was paired up with Billy Gunn, and Scott, you know, gave him the dig, put his head between his legs, signaled for the Razor's Edge, got backdropped on the floor. It was the coolest bump of the night. No one expected it. For, you know, who would have been late 50s at that time. For Scott to be taking bumps like that after, you know, not long having hip replacement surgery. Yeah, it was just, that was so cool to see. And he had countless moments in wrestling. You know, you can talk about the ladder match, Shawn and Razor, and well, both of them. They were both great matches.
Yeah.
You talk about the stuff he did as a tag team with the Outsiders, with Kev against Harlem Heat, against the Nasty Boys, the Steiners, Rex and the Giant. Just so many cool memories and matches. If you don't own it, try and get a hold of Living on the Razor's Edge, the DVD or Blu-ray, the Scott Hall story. It's an excellent watch. The documentary and the matches and extras are really awesome. So I've rambled on a bit there. I think I've talked for 10 minutes non-stop. So apologies for not letting you get a word in, Craig, but that's my experience with Scott Hall.
See, even there you can just see just how much of an influence and an impact he had on all over the place. You had to Japan, over here, and obviously in the States. I mean, tag team champion everywhere he went. You know, not a lot of people can say that. And like I said earlier, he was a TNA original. He spent a lot of time there, and obviously you mentioned he went through a lot of difficulties, but the fact is he overcame them, and he found himself again to the point where he ended up in the Hall of Fame, a two-time Hall of Famer. He's Scott Hall. I mean, like I said, everything's been said about him, but he was one of the best and one of the best intercontinental champions ever. And like you said, definitely, it's criminal that man was not a world champion. It's simple as that. Easily should have been a multi-time world champion, but hey, but yeah, it's unfortunate that we lost him, but there's no way he's being forgotten. He made it cool to be a bad guy, and what can you say? So that's nearly it. But now I guess we'll move on to the final 10. We'll taking it up as if you tuned in last week. So we had some questions from you guys, and included in that was a little game / competition for Nixon and I. We draft our dream TNA Impact rosters. So to finish off, we decided we're gonna go through the rules, if you like, set the parameters for how this goes. and then next week we'll choose our rosters. There'll be a poll will follow, and you can decide who had the best roster. So yeah, just want to start us off from what you come up with, and then swap suggestions.
So this is the vision I had for the Impact Wrestling fantasy draft between Mr. Impact Craig and Peter Nixon. So you can only include currently active persons. And I say persons instead of wrestlers because you need commentators, ring announcers, probably not referees, but I'll let you, I'll give you I'll give you time to digest that and see what you think. I'm thinking 40 people.
Okay.
All current championships must be represented. So you can't go ditching the X Division title or anything. Not that you would. Championships can be reassigned. So I'm not saying stick with the current champions. What was I going to say? I want to get your opinion. So I've said include currently active persons. Do you want to limit, this draft to people not signed to WWE or AEW, or do you want to include people that are in WWE and AEW and New Japan?
Maybe instead we include the free agents, like current free agents. We can bring some of those in.
Yeah, I think if we limit ourselves to people not signed to WWE or AEW, it'll be far easier.
Yeah.
Because, if we're going WWE and AEW, I mean, you'd just have Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar,
right,
Kenny Omega, and it'll be impossible. You'd never, ever be able to limit it to 40 people. So, I think it's wise to not include WWE and AEW current signees.
Yes.
I did have another idea. Okay. And I don't know if you want to do this later down the line, maybe the following week, but with your new roster, book Bound for Glory 2022.
Okay. I think definitely, we'll pick next week, and then following week, we'll fantasy book Bound for Glory. I think that's a good idea.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, what are your ideas? What is your vision?
So I think for each division, I thought maybe it has to have a certain amount of people in that division. Like the Knockouts tag division has to have at least 4 tag teams, and the digital media has to have at least each title has to have at least 3 contenders. And obviously, there's quite a lot of Hall of Famers. We thought we have like a learning tree, if you like, has to include one Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Like an advisory role type thing, or maybe as the GM or something. We're adding authority figures in, but I definitely think 40. I think that's just right. So obviously you can have the contenders, and then you have space for whoever else. And along with free agency, I think it should make for some interesting picks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think limiting it to 40 people, because you're going to want to have different numbers of contenders for different championships, aren't you? Like the DMC title, you can sort of swap and switch people from different divisions, and you might want 5 main contenders for the world title, but 8 for the X division, for example.
Yeah.
And 8 female wrestlers for the Knockouts world title, but they would be able to swap and switch with the tag team division. So yeah, I think it's a challenge, but it's something that will entertain us for the next week, certainly.
Yes, definitely. So we'll obviously go and have to take a look at the current free agents. Obviously, there are quite a lot to choose from, but it should make for some interesting content at least.
Yeah.
And I guess with that, we're on time for probably the first time since we started this.
Yeah.
I think
We went on last week. Bloody hell.
Yes, we apologise for that.
Yeah.
Yes. I apologise to Jeff as well because that's editable. So yes. But yeah, we're on time now, so I guess we'll wrap it up here. Follow us here, there, and everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you podcast. We're now available on Apple Podcasts. So give us a review on there if you like what you see. Drop us a comment here if you like what you see. Thank you for listening to us on audio. Thank you for watching us on YouTube, doing the whole thing, interacting with us. Yeah, you can catch us, of course, every single Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time. Catch Max and Jeff on the Mothership every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 1 a.m. UK time, on twitch.tv/TNAIW channel. I've been the MIC, he's been Nixon, and I'll continue to be Nixon. Until next time, goodbye, my friends.